Hi, welcome to Ingrid's Travels. Today I take you to Leiden, my town of birth in the Netherlands in Europe. It's not just my birth town. 400 years ago, when the first pilgrims fled from religious oppression in England and settled here in Leiden, 3 children were born in a family named Blossom. So here we're on the Corn Bridge, which is the place where they used to trade corn in the old days. It's still a marketplace nowadays, and it was also already a market area here about 400 years ago, when something really extraordinary happened here. Wow! Well, that is quite a climb up onto an artificial hill already made here 800 years ago, and it's what we call in Dutch the burcht, in English we call it the castle. It's the hideout for times of peril, when you either needed to hide your precious goods or when people needed to hide for the enemy. Let's go in. So behind me is one of the oldest churches of Leiden, the Hooglandse Kerk. And next to it there is a museum. Some Americans might have been in this museum. And the museum, I'll tell you, holds a secret. You wanna go and find it? So here we are at our place of discovery next to the Hooglandse Kerk. It's the Pilgrim Museum, and we're going to meet with Jeremy Banks, who has so much information to give us. Let's go in. We visited noted historian Jeremy Banks at the Pilgrim Museum. Jeremy has been researching the Pilgrims' roots for the last 30 years. Among those families, the Blossoms.
The title of the book that I've just completed is Strangers and Pilgrims, Travellers and Sojourners, and an explanatory subtitle, Leiden and the Foundations of Plymouth Plantation.
Mr. Banks, could you tell us something about the origin of the Blossom family that we are actually researching here?
Well, the Blossom family came from the area where the Pilgrims originated in northern Nottinghamshire, but they moved to Cambridge, and it's from Cambridge that they came to Leiden. We know that because Anne Blossom owned property there and went back to regulate it after she'd inherited it.
Would it be fair of me to say that these were people who wanted to live consciously? I mean, they made the conscious decision to leave England because of religious reasons. So maybe they were already separatists also, not only religiously, but in wanting to lead a more purposeful and a more conscious
well, the
life.
most attractive thing about the most attractive aspect about their thought that I've run into is that they were quite anti-dogmatic. They believed that an implication of the story of the fall and expulsion from the Garden of Eden is that all ideas have to be imperfect, including your own theological ideas, and including the reaction you have to other people's ideas. From this they drew the consequence that one must be tolerant and patient with ideas you disagree with. That's quite revolutionary for the time when most people believed that they had the right answer and everything else was wrong.
Am I allowed to say that that attitude is a perfect attitude to start a country on, like the Americans?
They did consciously try to set up a democratic government, and that they were more tolerant than intolerant.
Jeremy, if we did get our facts right, then the family Blossom had 3 children who went with them to the US. Some of the children are buried here at the Pieterskerk, and some of the children went with their parents to the US finally in 1629, if I'm correct. Is it true that the sister, Elizabeth, is heading the lineage of which Barack Obama is a descendant, whereas her brother is actually heading the lineage which, as a result, produced the family Bush and the presidents?
Oh yes, that's true. First of all, there's no question that it has been correctly research. The researchers are Gary Boyd Roberts and Chris Child of the New England Historic Genealogical Society. They've done all of the expert work on this, so I have no question at all that that's true.
Does that make Mr. Obama and Mr. Bush cousins still?
Distant cousins. But Mr. Bush is also a distant cousin in the different line with Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Isn't that amazing? So the Pilgrims, is it so that the presidents who descend from the Pilgrims, they're all sort of interrelated to each other then?
We know the names of 7 from Leiden, Pilgrims who have descendants who were president, and I also know that a couple more thought that they were, and probably were. That's John Adams and John Quincy Adams.
So the place where I'm standing now holds the very roots of Leiden's history, but not just of Leiden's history, also of that of the American Pilgrims who stayed here first for some 20 years before they left for the Americas. And among those pilgrims who left for the Americas were the ancestors of at least 7 presidents of the United States, among whom are Barack Obama and the Presidents Bush.